Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up, period. I'm Tristan Wright, and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce. That thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real. Today we're talking with Aaron from Content Only. Aaron, welcome, mate.
I'm looking forward to this chat, mate. I've been a bit toey this morning. Let's jump into it.
We're going to have a bit of fun today. So I remember we were talking last week and our very first conversation was, it was almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I said, I don't know if you remember this, but you were cold selling me, trying to get me, hard selling me, trying to get me to sign up to one of your programs. And I'm like, things have changed in 8 years, haven't they?
I must have done a pretty bad job of it.
You're a successful business owner today.
That's it, mate. I do vaguely remember the interaction and the exchange, and I just can't believe how quickly time's gone and a lot's manifested and taken place since then. And here we are, I think you said 10 years later, having a chat in a completely different set of circumstances.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about your story and where you've come from, how you got into business.
Yeah, my background's not one that's filled with a whole lot of tribulation and trials and hardships like some of those really cool stories. I had a pretty standard upbringing, middle class, great family, but I always had this unconscious wiring towards entrepreneurialism. I remember when I was 3 years old, I'd put a suit and tie on and pretend I was going to work. I had all the toy money and phones and all that sort of thing. I'd set up a desk and start working. So that was ingrained very young. And I remember when I was about 19, I typed into a search engine how to start an online business. And that's kind of where I went down the rabbit hole, and you start investing in courses and learning. And it all started with digital products, and I'd buy the licensing rights to them, and I'd look at niches that had very cheap traffic on Google. I would set up a sales page. I'd run Google ads, drive the traffic there and sell digital products that I had the licensing rights for. And because people knew I was doing that, people that had businesses, internet was still at a stage where you needed to have some skills to be able to set things up online, and business owners would start reaching out saying, hey, I know you're doing this. Can you set this up? And that's kind of how the agency world happened. And fast forward to where we are today, there's been a couple of different businesses and exits, a business partnership, and now Content Only is the primary business which specializes in the 30 days in 30 minutes content creation system for business owners that don't have the time for social media and getting it out in front of their target clients.
That's awesome. You can tell you've been practicing your elevator pitch because you were pretty good.
Yeah, the story changes every time because I always change what I leave in or leave out. Sometimes it's really long, sometimes it's short, but I didn't want to bore the audience too much with the backstory, given there's not too many tales of fear and overcoming the impossible in there for them.
How old were you when you first started? Like, did you study? Did you have a day job? Have you always been in business? What was that?
Yeah, I studied economics and finance, and I dropped out from university, and the offer was from my then boss. He was a retail business owner, several businesses, and had a really strong work ethic. I love working. I'd always take on extra shifts and go the extra mile. And he wanted to sort of groom me and put me in as a manager and said, hey, if the opportunities open up down the line, we can go in on some future businesses in retail stores that we open up. Unfortunately, he was my first mentor. He got pancreatic cancer in his 40s and passed away. So that's ultimately what put my initial path. That was the game plan. I was just going to be a retail business partner and own all these retail chains. And it was when his wife took over the business. She didn't have the same goals and ambitions that he had, and just wanted to keep the original businesses open as sort of a legacy and tribute to him. So that's when I had to start searching for my own pathway, and that led me to the online world because I thought that's got to be the future and the way to go. And that's kind of how it unfolded for me.
Yeah. And you said you've had multiple businesses and business partners. Why not just one or two businesses?
Well, initially, when I started the business with my partner at the time, Jack Murray, we went in and we did a joint venture with an RTO, so registered training office, and we sold diplomas. So these are qualifications. And that was a really good business. We grew it really, really quickly. But the problem was I didn't actually enjoy the work and what we were doing. And it wasn't that I didn't believe in the product and then the pathway, but we also had very different goals and visions and stages of life that we were in. So when you've got those conflicts going on, you can have a very adult conversation and just say, hey, here's where we're at. How do we move forward in a way that we maintain the friendship and put that first? And then we amicably go down different business paths. So we just came to a place where we're happy to move on. Eventually that business did get sold, and we were able to exit that one and sell it privately, which was a pretty cool experience going through those steps as an education as well.
I want to hear a bit about that. We'll get onto it in a minute, but I do want to hear about the exit and how you sold it.
Yeah, so we just went to a broker, and so I said, how do you go about selling a business? And they took us through, and you list it and you get people that apply. They want to see the numbers and understand the business. When you meet someone that you think's a good fit to potentially take over the business, you put together a heads of agreement, which is essentially mapping out terms. And that's the biggest thing I was going to say to anyone that ever goes down the path of selling a business. The price, yes, that's one attractive part of the puzzle, but for us, the terms was everything, because you can sell a business and still have to stay on and work in the business for 3 years, or you can't compete, and you've got all these other variables. So we sold it probably for less than what we could have got for it, but under really good terms where we could go on and start new businesses and continue on the entrepreneurial path. So that was a negotiation where there was an upfront payment and some trails based on hitting targets over the next few months after selling the business. And yeah, it was a fun process. There was a few hiccups going through with things and getting it all systemized to hand over to someone and so forth. And just going through that was something that I look back on with a bit of pride, because not a lot of businesses can get sold and achieve that outcome. And it shaped the way that I approach business now, in that I know what's required to build a business that is attractive to someone that would want to buy it. And that's always in the back of my mind, because you can build an asset that one day you can cash in, or you can continue to generate profit from it and live off that profit and grow the profit and have it as a cash flowing asset for yourself.
Yeah, awesome. So after selling that, you kept on going.
Doubled down on the agency path with some advisory in there, a little bit of consulting, and it really morphed. So initially in the agency game, it was very much end to end. So you did everything for everyone. A lot of people make that mistake, and you end up finding that really hard to systemize, get the right team in, attract the right talent, because you've got different industries, different clients, different systems, different strategies that are going to work. And slowly but surely was able to learn that, hey, you kind of have to specialize a little bit. You don't want to be doing 10 or 15 different things. You want to get really good at one or two. And that makes your business a lot easier. And over time, we saw where we were getting the most impact and the biggest results of people, and slowly started leaning over in that direction and just getting better and better and better. And today, I'm very happy with the team that we have, what we do, where the business is at. We can still refine further and get more specific, but yeah, there's a lot of learning curves trying to get to that place.
How big is the team today?
6. So we're at 9. This time last year we had 9. We're down to 6. So had to make some big decisions back end of last year from a cash flow perspective, and also with a lot of things that were happening with AI became a big part of the process, and where there were inefficiencies and it was eating into profit, I probably hung on a little bit too long to some of the team, being a nice guy and all, but
offshore or both.
So we got both. So we got 4 here in Australia, and then the rest are overseas. So Francois and Shelley, our South African employees, and then the ones that we let go were, one was in Pakistan, one we still use actually. So I wouldn't say he's completely off, but more of a project base. He's in Hungary, of all places, and I can't even remember where the other one was located, but yeah, one of those more traditional offshore locations.
Why South Africa? Like, I'm starting to go towards South Africa. I've got staff in South Africa, moving away from the Philippines and moving towards South Africa. Why did you choose that area?
In South Africa, it's very different dynamics. They've had the apartheid movement, so a lot of the white people don't get work and jobs because it goes to the black community ever since that movement took place. So you find all these really, really skilled workers over there, and we have the currency edge with the Australian dollar being a lot stronger for the rand. So you get these really incredible employees that want to work, and they work very, very hard because of the opportunities a bit starved for over there. And there's probably about 3-1. So you're probably paying them a third of what you might pay for the same level of talent onshore here in Australia. And they've got the excellent English speaking skills, and coupled with that work ethic, for me, it was a really powerful opportunity, given that my then partner, Paula, she was born in South Africa, still has family there. They're all entrepreneurial. So we had the experience of seeing businesses on the ground there, getting to know different people, and we kind of knew that there was some untapped resources that we could leverage into our own companies by having a foot on the ground over in South Africa when we went there a couple of times.
Yeah, nice. So I want to go back 12 months ago. You said you were 9 people when you went down to 6.
Yep.
Talk to me about that period, both from a personal perspective, but also a business perspective. Why did that need to happen?
So I mentioned, I think in our catch up last week, that I separated from my wife, Paula, and she's actually working in the office. So we're still very close. We spend a lot of time together, and we're doing, what do they call it? Conscious parenting or conscious uncoupling, whatever the phrase is these days. So we're best mates. We get on like a house on fire, just remove the romantic element. But she was going through a breast cancer fight that was very intense, and that took a lot of financial resources to get the best specialists, all the medical appointments associated with that. So we were pulling a lot of money to cover that. And in the same breath, my capacity was heavily reduced. I'm running her around to medical appointments. I'm taking over the bulk of the parenting responsibilities while she rests and recovers. So the business was starting to lose profit. We're having a lot more going out than was coming in, plus these additional costs. So it was really a financial decision. And then also we found that with what these team members were doing, is actually more inefficient than using some of the new tools that had come out, trying to micromanage because of the mistakes they were making. So by the time we corrected a mistake, sent it and got it sent back, we could do that in 10 seconds with some of the tools that came through. So it was just costing all this money to manage and enable mistakes that we didn't need anymore. So it was a hybrid of inefficiencies, needing to be mindful of the bottom line and increase profit, a perfect storm of personal and business things happening at the same time.
Yeah. It must have been tough. Like, you would have been even, I don't know, was the times where you're like, do I just throw it all in, or were you always, yep, I'm doing this?
There were moments where I just didn't know what to do. I was sitting there going, I have no idea how the hell I'm going to get through this season or this period strategically, what to implement, what to do, what to focus on. There was a knowing that you will get through it. You go, look, knowing that Paula was stage 2 and she was very most likely going to recover really well. You've got this perspective that, hey, like fighting a very serious fight, and there's much worse things that could be going on right now. But there was a feeling of helplessness at time, particularly because we're also, being a marketer, when you've got money there, you can invest in advertising, generate more leads, grow your client pipe. That was getting diminished as well. So I felt like I didn't have as much capital as I needed to be able to drive the demand and the business that we needed to make more profit and grow. But I remember at a lowest of low points, it was just this decision. I had to actually invest in some stuff for me. I'd just been giving, and I invested in a therapist, just someone to talk to and get help. I started getting chiro again because I wasn't getting chiro because I was like, it's too expensive to do these things. Literally within a couple of weeks of allowing myself to spend some money on me, it's like the floodgates opened again. Okay, you're ready. You're worth it now. You can start receiving again. And all my pipeline started coming through. Everyone that was sitting on the fence was a yes. All the sales conversations went from, oh, yeah, it sounds good to, hey, how do we get started? Here's my details. It was funny how it was almost like an energetic shift that just changed the trajectory. But I definitely sat in a place at times going, I have no idea what to do, no idea how to get through this. And I'm just going to go for a run because I don't know what else I could do right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been through some highs and some lows. I went through separation with my ex-wife how many years ago now? 12 years ago? Yeah, about 12 years ago. So we didn't have children, but I know the pain that you went through. Like you're friends, but
Yes.
separation and yeah, not easy.
There was shame there as well, because in my mind, I used to judge other people when they went through that. I was like, well, they're doing well over here, but their marriage has fallen apart. And I used to be a very big judger and calling that sort of thing out. And then here I am, and the same things happen in my world. So there was shame. And I think on the consciousness scale, if anyone's ever looked at that, shame's like the lowest frequency to be vibrating at in an energetic sense. So I was right at the bottom of that, embarrassed. And then you've got to have the conversation with family and tell people what's going on, and having a child as well, and knowing there's going to be an adjustment for them. You're carrying all that on top of the other pressures. So it was definitely tough. And it was one step at the time for me. I didn't have any peripheral on. So even getting help wasn't on the radar, because I was in such this, I've just got to get through today, this week, as opposed to thinking big picture vision. And I could lean on mentors and people that I know for support here. It was really like the blinders are on. So I didn't help myself much getting through the season that I was in.
Yeah, we're good at helping others, but not always the best at helping ourselves.
Yeah, it's so obvious. Get some help, talk to someone. But when you're in it, it's very different to the obvious that's right in front of you.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the current version of the business model and the iterations, the pivots or the refinements that it took you to get there. Because so many businesses feel like they're constantly pivoting or iterating and don't necessarily think that they've got it right. How did you get to where you are today?
A lot of trial and error and just chance happenings on the way. When we were doing content for people initially, it was like pulling teeth, because we'd be constantly chasing up our clients for what we needed: IP, photos, context on what we were going to talk about. And it was really inefficient. We often weren't getting things that we needed in time. And I ended up on a Zoom with one of my clients. He's a bricklayer, Brickett, Mark Flynn. He's also here in Melbourne. And he said, I want to build up my personal brand and my presence and profile in the local construction industry, and I want to do some videos. And we were on Zoom at the time. And I said, well, let's just hit record and I'll just start asking you questions. I was like, hey, how did Brickett get started? How do you minimize delays for builders? What do you see in other contractors doing wrong that create defects? How do you ensure a seamless experience for clients? And he's just rattling off these beautiful answers, almost like we're doing right now, just having this free-flowing conversation. And I stopped the recording after 20 minutes. I sent it off to my editor and said, just cut any clips from this chat you think we could use on social media. The next day I get back a folder. There's about 12 clips in there. And I go, hang on a minute. We've just had an on-the-fly chat with a bricklayer who's never done video before, got this really authentic, organic content, and that's going to last us several weeks. And then it clicked to me, the hardest thing that we've been doing is chasing. What if we just got our clients on video, interview them once a month, repurpose their answers into the video clips, repurpose the transcription into their written posts. We've got this authentic content that will separate them from all the AI duplicates out there. And all they have to do is chat to us. They don't have to prepare. They show up. It's good fun. It's relaxed. They can have a coffee if they want. They can have a beer. And then they can go back to running their business and doing the high ROI activities. And we've got all the social media covered. So that was a series of just happenings that led to finding a really productive model. Now we've refined it. We go find the questions that their target audience are searching online. So we're solving their biggest problems up front. We do a bit of circulation and retargeting and things like that. So we're getting it in front of the ideal clients and customers and reaching the audience that needs to see it and posting it and scheduling it at the times that are most active for their users. So we keep making it better as we go. But yeah, it all happened by chance on Zoom one day, essentially.
Yeah. It's often like you're just having conversations and it just all clicks. So it organically happens. Like you've probably been trying to improve it for months or years. And then all of a sudden it's a perfect storm.
Yeah, and you pick up things as you go. So you run into certain challenges when you start implementing that. Might be the way someone sets up their camera. And then you go, okay, we need to have a system or some instructions around that so we can make that better. Or their internet connection was unstable and we got a dodgy connection, which impacted the footage and so forth. So you come up with a few different ways to work around that. We've had people get a little bit nervous or flustered by the process. So it's like, okay, how do we make sure that when they come in, they don't feel that way? So it's a bit like the pre-chat that we had before we jumped on today. You get them relaxed in conversation mode before you get started rather than, right, here's question number one. And then also one thing we weren't initially doing with some of the clients that went through this process was the distribution of the content. We found that they're getting all this content and then they weren't even posting it. So like, okay, we need to take back control of that process and make sure that we take that off their hands as well. So there's been all these iterations that have happened throughout, but I feel like it's in a really good place now. And because our clients tend to stick around, that's the sign that clearly it's working and they're happy with the way it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it. Like it's a customer churn. So
Yeah.
are your clients lasting 6 months, 12 months, 2 years?
Yeah, we always have the occasional one that sort of steps into the process and tapers out quicker than we'd like. But the group of clients that we've got right now, they've been with us, I'd say the majority of them for at least 12 months or more. And that's a check mark for me. If anyone sticks around for over 12 months, I know that we're doing things right. We only put them on a 3-month minimum term agreement so they can jump off anytime after then, or if there was an issue in the first 30 days and we just weren't vibing, then we'd offboard then as well, which did actually happen recently. We had an experience where we couldn't get on the same page for what their vision was for the content and how our model and system works. So we just had a really nice conversation, a quick phone call, said, hey, I don't think we're meeting your vision. And I think if we keep going down this path, it's going to be frustrating for both of us. So why don't we just tear up the agreement and part as mates? And that went well. So occasionally that happens and that's on me. Like I was the one that invited them to come in and work in our model and our process. So I take full ownership and responsibility when that happens. But generally speaking, I think we deliver pretty good results for our clients, and the fact that they do stick around is the check mark that I look at for performance.
So the structure of the 6 staff at the moment is you and Paula heading it up, or does Paula work for you or your business partners?
Not so much work. She's got her own company that she runs. She's certainly there as a sounding board, a strategic advisor, and definitely helps a lot when it comes to some of the big decisions. Harry's my main man. He's on holidays at the moment. He's in Japan, so I'm covering him this week. He's eating sushi and having a good time, which is great. And he kind of runs the accounts and takes care of the operational side. Francois is our primary editor, and he does all the cutting of the interviews and the conversations that we have. And then we have Georgie, who helps out with the branding aspect when we put all the branding on top of clips and so forth. And then we have Shells, who takes the copywriting process, and she does a lot of the scheduling and managing aspects on that side of the equation. And I kind of do the client-facing stuff day to day and champion that sort of thing. I probably left someone out there.
Don't tell anyone. So
Yeah. Sorry, if you're listening to the replay, I'm so sorry.
what's your workload like? Often as a business owner, we struggle to manage what we traditionally call work-life balance.
Yeah, it's a good question.
You've been through that journey more than most, almost, especially over the last 18 months.
Yeah, there's this grapple, I think, for entrepreneurs too, of there's like the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week mindset, and then there's like the Grant Cardone 10x mentality. And the biggest thing for me that I've learned is getting really clear on what you want. How do you want it to look for you? Because the challenge is if you start adopting other people's maps of the world, you're going to buy into their philosophies and how they see things, and that might not align with your core values. I start there. How do I want my days to look? And then I go, how do I want my lifestyle to be? And then what profit would be required to be able to maintain and do that? And that's first and foremost what I build around. But at the foundation for me is my son Bailey, and being able to take care of him. And I make sure that I'm available at the drop of a hat to be able to pick him up from school, put him to bed at night, play with him when he needs me. So I'd say I have a natural hard work ethic, and sometimes that's to my detriment because I will just do tasks that are not important that could get delegated and passed on to the team. But I'm also well and truly aware that I'm not trying to build this massive empire and change the world or anything like that, because I do have this family priority on the side. So I'd say I'm in the middle. Like, I work hard, I've got a vision, I am expanding constantly, but I also have a very healthy relationship with training, family, and making sure I'm ticking those boxes. And I think I've made a lot of inner peace with the type of person I am and how I show up in the world. And that's, I think if you go back to how you want to feel as well, and what type of model is going to give you the feeling that you're successful to an extent, but not stressed out, overwhelmed, and losing the ability to be present. They're some of the things that I look at when I'm designing my work week and work years.
Yeah. I want to go back to the start there. I've got a phrase that, sorry, not a phrase. We often live our life on other people's goal plans. We need to live our life on our own goal plans and identify what that is and live to that, as opposed to what we think the world wants us to do or be.
Very true. And it's easy, particularly when you're starting out, to just start modeling or copying someone that you've been following on social media. And I don't judge people at all, because I've definitely done that at times. And I remember back to when I was doing the Grant Cardone TV stuff, I feel like I was just trying to be Grant, and that wasn't Aaron Witnish. And that was a moment where I did feel a level of being an imposter, but it probably was being an imposter to an extent, because it wasn't very authentic, in my opinion. And that's why I'm very aware of outside influences. If I'm not getting clarity, I just turn off social media. I don't listen to any influencers or any mentors, because I need to hear my inner voice. My inner compass knows what to do. That instinct, that inner alignment, that'll direct you if you're able to dial it up and turn it up. But if you've got conflicting voices in your ear all the time, you're going to get yourself in this loop where you don't know which action to take, because it all starts bumping into each other and conflicting. My advice to anyone that is feeling that way is just switch off social media for a few days, go for some walks, and just let the answers reveal themselves without feeling like you need to force it, because you do know what to do. You just need to listen sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I spend so much time running. It's like I can just have clear air and think. But it's so important. Yes, you need people around you, but you need to limit. You've got to be selective of the people around you.
Definitely true. The environment that you're in will heavily dictate your energy, what you're focused on, even little things like having the news on. The headlines tend to be fairly similar. They tend to put you in a place of fear or scarcity. And if you find yourself in scarcity, you don't tend to take very powerful action. And it's not a very abundant frame of mind to be operating from. I'm mindful of all those elements. And I tend to limit my time spent with people that I feel are those away from people that do have that scarcity or that victim mentality and what's wrong with the world, and try and spend more time with people that are big thinkers. They're very abundant, they're very generous, they're very giving, and they do big things, and they don't apologize, they receive well. They're the types of people that I gravitate towards more with my time. And whilst you're going to still have friends and family that fit in that other category, still naturally spend time with them and love them and accept who they are, and that most people have stuff going on, and we all have our quirks and things that other people are probably talking about behind the scenes. And just trying to be, naturally as humans, we do judge. It's a survival mechanism. We're looking for threats, but try to minimize that judgment and see the good side in people, but double down on the ones that lift me up as opposed to pull me down.
Yeah. Spend time. You want to spend time around the people that are going to take you or help you go in the direction that you've chosen to go.
Exactly. And people in business are one of the things that can really accelerate the timelines to your goals. Having the contacts that can open doors, they've got resources, or they've learned lessons that you haven't learned yet that they can pass on. Getting that network dialed in and having access to those sorts of people will make you achieve your vision much faster than being with people that are not in that lane.
So if you were to go back 2 or 3 years' time and give Aaron Witnish from 3 years ago a few pieces of advice, what would that be?
The first one would definitely be take more space and turn off all the noise. So no notifications. I found one of my biggest weaknesses was my day would start based on what had come into my inbox. So it wasn't intentional. And then I was in reaction mode right from the outset. There's some anxiety brought in from that because I'm putting out other people's fires and dealing with other people's agendas. So no notifications, definitely the first 2 hours a day, get very clear on what I should be doing and what I should be focusing my attention on, because then your results amplify 10 times faster because you're doing the right work. Your attention's going to the right places. That would be number one. Number two would be speaking the truth faster, particularly in that scenario where we had to let go of a few team members. Like I just let that drag on much longer than it needed to, and that impacted profit, and that could have affected the whole company where everyone would have become collateral damage in the process. So I think if there's something that needs to be done, yes, it's going to suck, and just be a good person about it. Just be honest. Put the cards on the table as quickly as you can, and just talk through it as human beings, and don't let things get bigger than they are in your head or cause unnecessary pain for a lot more people. That's the second one that I continue to double down on moving forward.
Yeah, awesome. Mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. People want to get in touch. What's the best way?
Just go to aaronwitnish.com. That links to all the different social medias. There's a free training on there. There's the podcast and all that sort of thing. So yeah, if there's a link to that in the show notes, head there if you want to connect, and feel free to say g'day on social media. Always happy to answer any questions that you have after listening to the show.
Awesome, mate. You have a good one.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.